The emergency doors burst open, flooding the clinic with urgency. Paramedics raced in, pushing a stretcher at full speed.
Male, mid-30s, unresponsive, suspected myocardial infarction. One shouted, voice sharp with urgency. Sophie Lang, head nurse, barely broke stride. She had just finished tending to a post-op patient, but switched gears instantly. Get him on oxygen! Prep the crash cart! Attach monitor leads! She commanded, slipping on her gloves.
Around her, the medical team moved in flawless rhythm. Sophie leaned over the man, fitting the oxygen mask on his face. Her hands reached automatically for his wrist to check his pulse, and then froze. The sharply cut features, the faint scar under his chin. The man lying unconscious on the stretcher was Liam Hart, the man who had fired her 5 years ago, without questions, without hesitation. The crash cart charged, defib pads attached. Sophie's body moved out of pure training, but her mind spiraled back. That sterile white office, the unsigned explanation. The security guard escorting her out while she clutched her dignity. Now the very man who had discarded her like an inconvenience needed her hands to bring him back. "Start compressions!" Dr. Blake snapped. Sophie braced herself and pressed down on his chest. Each compression was steady, mechanical, relentless. The monitor lines jumped. Once, twice, a heartbeat returned, a life saved. When Liam opened his eyes, weak and disoriented, the first thing he saw was a figure in scrubs standing by the window. "You're in St. Jude's clinic," Sophie said evenly, stepping closer. "You suffered a cardiac arrest. You've been unconscious for about 36 hours. Liam blinked, sluggish, trying to orient himself. He studied her, the calm face, the firm voice. Something gnawed at his memory. "And you are?" "Sophie Lang, your attending nurse," she said, keeping it formal. There was a flicker in his eyes. Confusion, maybe recognition. But it faded quickly under his natural instinct for control. "I need my phone," he rasped. "You need rest," Sophie countered, without missing a beat. "Your heart can't afford another shock." But Liam wasn't a man used to being told no. Within hours, he was trying to organize meetings, barking orders to assistants, demanding updates. Finally, Sophie lost her calm professionalism. "You're risking your life," she said tightly. "You nearly died, Mr. Hart. Perhaps you should start acting like it." Liam glared. "You have no idea what it's like to be responsible for an empire." Sophie's voice dropped, quiet but devastating. "No, but I know what it's like to lose everything because of one man's carelessness." He froze. She met his gaze squarely. "I worked for Hart Enterprises 5 years ago, a junior associate in marketing. I flagged a mistake in the quarterly report. No one listened. When the fallout hit, they needed a scapegoat. You signed the termination papers without even asking why." Liam stared, speechless. The world tilted for a moment. He saw flashes of a timid girl with careful notes, a soft hello in the elevators, and the memory of a rushed HR meeting, a signature, a forgotten name. That night, Liam, alone in his hospital bed, accessed archived HR files despite the exhaustion weighing him down. It took hours, password resets, security checks, but finally, he found it. Termination, Sophie Lang. Reason, mishandling of financial documents. Status, no internal review. Attached was a hidden memo, 2 weeks later, admitting that the real mistake had been made by her superior, that Sophie had tried to prevent it, and no one had cared. Liam's chest ached with something far worse than cardiac pain. Guilt, shame, She had saved him even when he had thrown her away. In the days that followed, Liam changed. He stopped asking for his phone. He read the books Sophie left him. He asked questions about the patients, about her dreams. That's how he learned about her dream project, a mobile health clinic for underserved communities. The very dream she had nearly given up after losing everything. And without telling her, Liam used his network quietly. He pushed the grant forward through a third-party foundation, anonymously. When Sophie received the acceptance letter, her hands trembled. Her project, approved, funded, real. She stormed into Liam's room, holding the letter. "You did this," she accused. He didn't deny it. "I didn't want you to think it was charity," he said softly. "I wanted you to have back what I took." For a long moment, she said nothing, but in her eyes something softened. One evening, on the rooftop terrace of the clinic, as the sun melted into the horizon, Liam found her standing at the railing. "I got an offer," he said quietly. "The board wants me back as CEO, Global Reach, New York." Sophie didn't turn around. She already knew what that meant. "It's your world," she said. "It was," Liam replied. "But maybe it isn't anymore." He stepped closer. "I don't want to go back to being the man who only knew how to build walls and profits. Here, with you, with this mission, it's the first time my life feels real." She finally turned to face him, and he pulled out a small velvet box. "I've signed 1,000 contracts in my life," he said, dropping to one knee. "But the only promise I want to make now is to you. Sophie Lang, will you marry me?" Tears welled up in her eyes, shimmering like the first stars appearing in the twilight. "Yes," she whispered, voice breaking. "Yes, Liam, I will."